horse that'll stay around the ground. The horse that should love the 6 furlongs would be Yak Feek, should love it. I don't put it because of Rawi's build. I think the 6 will be fine with him. He looks like he's got a bit of speed to him, and he's more developed than some of the other 2-year-olds, especially in the shoulder and hindquarters.
You kind of hope that, having spent $240,000 on him, wouldn't you, that he was a bit more imposing or better looking than some of these. And you mentioned Frosted seems to have imparted some speed into the horses that we've seen so far.
I mean, he was very quick. I mean, one of the best milers in the States in the last decade or so, and he was very quick. He just happened to be born the same year as the American Pharaoh, who handed him his hindquarters a few times, and and then he basically wasn't able to, when he couldn't beat him at a mile and a quarter, he dropped back to a mile, and he became, the top-rated miler in the world on dirt. So winning the Met Mile by about a pole. I do think this is a stallion to reckon with. He does put a bit of speed in there, and this one's interesting because the bottom is all stamina and classic stamina. 10 furlong horses from an old Josephine Abercrombie pin oak stud, goes back to the 1960s.
And pleasingly, the 2 Frosted horses in this are both grey. That's
I mean, he stamps them there, and it doesn't always happen that way. Exactly. And it's kind of like Tappet his sire. It doesn't make him any better or worse. Some of the best Tappets are chestnut, but and you'll see a lot of his. They definitely have that more compact build. Like, he wasn't a tiny horse, but he was racy. Yeah, and he came here obviously and won the Maktoum Challenge fairly easily.
Yeah, before disappointing to a degree in the in Dubai World Cup. They're all walking around patiently down at the start. We've got a glimpse there of Summer Is Tomorrow, who would be one that's got a bit of physical scope about him to improve, and maybe just a little bit weak at the moment, hence why he's faded in his 2 starts to date. Stall 9 wouldn't have been too easy for him last time either. Yak Feek, another one that should improve on that initial run where he showed speed. There is Practical Mischief about to make his way forward. So selections, John, as ever with the 2-year-old races, I'm just quite happy to watch them and take clues for the future. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, when I was looking through the race on paper, I obviously like the look of Rawi based on a number of different factors, but I also thought, from having seen the last couple of races, particularly the last one here of Mr. Cafu, I really felt he used up a lot of energy in the early exchanges, and if he can measure his race a little bit better here, I think he's got a good chance. For me, I thought Libyan Classic looked great in the paddock. It's a bit subjective, but I think he, based on looks, I really like him.
Yeah, let's go up to the call for Alistair.
Summer Is Tomorrow and Yak Feek, so just to load. Summer Is Tomorrow. Yak Feek. Feek jumped the queue. Summer Is Tomorrow about to be the last one. Shane Ryan about to send them back. Set. Trying to get the head of Classic City to look straight. As he does it. And they're off. Very untidy start. Summer Is Tomorrow jumped on to Mr. Cafu, and the one that felt the brunt of it was Classic City. Has to race towards the back of the field with Watani, who shows very little interest in the early stages. Rawi, first one to break, goes off to the early lead over Summer Is Tomorrow, who races in second. Then comes Libyan Classic, a length and a half behind the leader in third. Practical Mischief travels well at the inside rail, about 2 lanes adrift. Then we go 3 lanes away to Yak Feek, who's at the outside of Mr. Cafu. Classic City. Then we go a number of lengths away to Mr. Important, and Watani is an unlikely winner. Must be about 20 lanes off the leader, and they're about to take the angle for home towards the final 500 metres, and Summer Is Tomorrow picked up the lead. Rawi happy to race in second, half a length away. Libyan Classic is in the red and white colours at their outside is Mr. Cafu, but it's Summer Is Tomorrow in charge here. 3-length leader in the run down to the wire and extending. Summer Is Tomorrow will be too good. Second goes to Rawi, fair debut in second. Then came Mr. Cafu. They were ahead of Libyan Classic, Practical Mischief, Classic City. Then came Mr. Important. They were ahead of Yak Feek and Watani.
And third time's a charm for Summer Is Tomorrow, who was just that bit more street-wise, perhaps, compared to some, but certainly a bit fitter, and potentially as well, the drop back to 1,200 metres has very much served him well. He's made much of the running. Rory was always prominent. He's eventually finished second for the first time this season, really, other than when taking names bolted up. The 2-year-olds have finished well strung out here at Meydan, and a good dominant performance by Summer's tomorrow.
Yeah, good ride from Tiger Shea as well, I thought. Managed to get that positioning on Summer's tomorrow, and I think possibly there's races in Rawi, and you'd like to think he'll come on a lot for that run. I think Royston French has seen that the game is toast against Summer's tomorrow, with quite a long way out, so he's looked after the horse coming in. Other than that, good sort of staying on effort from Mr. Cafu. Possibly a step up in trip might suit next time.
Yeah, there was quite a few of these were out with the wash in a good way out, Mikey. I'm not quite sure what to make of the depth of the race in the end.
Well, I think a lot of them, 3 or 4 of them, were pretty hindered by the start.
Yeah.
It wasn't the easiest start for a lot of them, and including, I think, Doug's horse, Practical Mischief, didn't have the greatest start, kind of affected him. I mean, the race was kind of won by the fact that Tig was able to secure the inside lane, and Royston wasn't going to overuse his horse to cross over. And that's so important in these 6 furlong races. You have to secure the corner. And if you don't get that inside lane going around the turn, then you're basically losing ground. And sometimes the track, to be frank, is not as tight in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th lanes.
Yeah, no, exactly. The rail, good place to potentially be. Could be the start of a big night for Bupat Seamar and Tiger Shea. They're likely to have the favourite in the next race in the form of Discovery Island. Big chances later on with the likes of Alma Fudd. Plenty of chances in the other races as well. And this was more like it from the debut run, John, where he was second to taking names. He probably paid the price for trying to bang heads with taking names. He was obviously a very impressive winner. That may just have left its mark next time, and he's bounced back in no uncertain terms here.
Yeah, it wasn't too long, I guess, between that debut run and his second start. So maybe just with the benefit of having an extra 3 weeks to recover, and sort of obviously coming on from the benefit of those 2 runs, he knows what he's doing a little bit better. He's obviously got the family breeding to perform well on these kind of tracks, and he's really shown it tonight. He really looked promising against taking names. If you sort of put a line through the fact that the winner was so impressive.
Yeah.
He was very much the second one that you'd pick out of it, and as you say, he was disappointing in that follow-up run. He's really shown his capabilities and his skills this evening. I thought it was a good run from Summer's tomorrow, and especially against clearly one who is going to go on to win races in Rawi.
Yeah, I mean, Rawi is pretty much, as Mikey said, the likes of Practical Mischief, Classic City were knocked about a bit at the start. Perhaps you'd give them an excuse for that. We'll determine the severity of that when we look back at the race, but really and truly looking at it, it's only really Rawi that you're going to want to take from that. Mr. Cafu's had his chances now. Libyan Classic didn't step forward at all from that first run, nor did Yak Feek. He was always sort of midfield or worse. Perhaps he suffered a bump a bit at the start as well. But just a prime example of a bit of experience. This horse actually cost quite a bit at the sales as well. He was well into 6 figures, I believe, and a second winner in the UAE for his owner, Michael Burke and Nigar Burke. They are, of course, own Lady Snaz as well. So congratulations to Michael Hilary Burke, beg your pardon, and Nigar Burke. So they've got a good strike rate here in the UAE with 2 winners from 4 runners now. And this horse doesn't really look as though he's going to need too much further from that display of speed we saw there, and his run last time over 7.
I think we know what trip suits him. To be honest, I think it, sort of stick to this 1,200 metre trip. The winner got 49,500 dirhams, so it's going to take a few more winners for them to make the £120,000 that they spent at Doncaster back in May.
Interesting to see Tiger Shea's name alongside this horse when they bought him. I think Ted Durkin was involved as well. Not the sort of figure that Tiger Shea would have shelled out on without a purchase, but let's have a look at the start then, because it was messy. A few horses severely impacted. Classic City in the white cap, it is actually the winner that goes left and shuts out both Libyan Classic and Classic City, into a lesser degree, Practical Mischief. I don't think he was as badly impeded. Mr. Important was also slow, Watney was also slow, and Yakfeet copped a bit of a bump. So when you look at that, you've got 5 or 6 who could have lost their chance at the start, really. You never know, you never quite know how a horse could be winded when they're sideswiped at the start. You just never really know, do you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to look a few times at the replay just to see how much impact, physical impact there was, but certainly momentum-wise, you're pinging out of the starting stalls, you're sort of trying to get out of the gate, you go out and then suddenly you're facing a brick wall straight away. The actual momentum loss there, and momentum's a huge thing in racing. The amount of energy that it takes to regain speed when you've put that much in to spring out, it's an awful lot of energy. So I do think there's excuses potentially for those who've been impeded a touch. Having said all that, the winner's very, very good value.
Yeah, we can see that he shows that early speed to get over and lead. Rawi hassles him to a degree on the outside, but the pair have already probably opened up a 3 or 4 length advantage, haven't they, over the rest who are trying to restore their equilibrium. Practical Mischief has shown speed, Libyan Classic has recovered, but you can see 4 or 5 of them have just got no chance already.
Yeah, and if you look at Rawi here, he is tracking pretty wide round the bend. He got out very well, but as you said, he just couldn't get in front of the eventual winner. I wonder if possibly if he'd managed to get a better position, whether that would have been quite the case. Having said all this, I don't think anyone was winning today's race apart from Summers tomorrow.
No. There's quite a size differential between the two as well, isn't there? Summers is tomorrow maybe just the more, well, in terms of going forward, he's got that bit more strength and been able to hold himself a little bit better today. But yeah, the rest are just well and truly out with the washing, aren't they? No real sign of anything finishing off strongly. It's, yeah, I'm not totally convinced what to make of that, other than the winner was confirming his debut promise to a degree and has taken the advantage of a couple struggling in behind. Let's find out a bit more about this horse, though, from the winning trainer, Bhupat Seema.
We got Bhupat Seema, Zabeel Stables. Summers tomorrow comes back from a disappointing effort last time, knocks it out today.
Yeah, he's got a lot of speed, and maybe the 7 furlong, and he was drawn 10 the last time. Things just didn't go his way. We were trying to, we planned that we're going to just hold him up a little bit the last time, but he's just got too much natural speed. And this time we said we're going to keep it simple, better draw. We're just going to go and let him use his speed.
Now the races from here, they do get longer, going into the classics. Are you going to try to stretch him out again at all?
Well, that'll be probably the idea. We'll have to go back and look at the condition book. There might be a race for winners of 1 at 6 furlong, if I'm not wrong. There's actually also a race on the turf. We'll just have to go back, have a look, and what's there for him.
And later on today, you have a horse debuting for you, who a lot of people know around here in Kimber, multiple Group 2 winner. So what do you think, how's he going to do first out for you?
Well, Kimber is an older horse. He's been training well, but we don't know him that much. I mean, he's been around with us for about 2.5 months. He's done everything right, and hopefully he'll be the same Kimber that's been around for a while.
Well, best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's win number 11 already for Bhupat Seema since he took over the licence. And if you couple that with the winners Satish had before the licence switched names, and they'd be right up there in terms of being champion trainer. I think around about 16 winners that would put them on. Abdullah Al-Hamidi and Doug Watson both on 17. So it's a shame in some respects that the two sort of winners tallies couldn't go together. It's not like in the UK where you can have joint licences. Over here it has to be one or the other. I'm
not sure even if they put it under that, then it would still be applicable. But I think obviously the politics of the situation I'm not going to go massively into. But what I would say is that Bhupat's doing a tremendous job since officially taking the licence, and it's another winner for him. And he certainly looks like a horse who's going places, and I think he could possibly have more winners from this one even this season. Yeah, that's whether they are tempted to go down the Guineas route now. I suppose it's the automatic aim for any horse, any juvenile in the early part of the season. The Guineas trial comes up in 2 or 3 weeks' time, but
you'd have to imagine that sprinting is going to be more his game, but let's see which way they go with him. Our third contest is an interesting little handicap, principally because we've got a Southern Hemisphere bred 3-year-old in there in the form of Quality Boone. He's indeed a team of horses have. And I found out a bit more about this one from the assistant trainer to Antonio Sintra earlier in the week, Julio Olascoago. Start with your runner on Thursday, Julio, and you've got Quality Boone, who makes just his third start. How's he settled in here in Dubai?
Hi, Stephen. Yes, he's doing really well. He's been 20 days here in Dubai already, and he's been working fine, took on the track really well, and Antonio decided to enter him in this race. It will be a strong race for him because he has to race against the older horses, but we expect he will do a good run.
And obviously, if all goes well on Thursday, you'll be looking at the Classic Series in the new year?
Probably yes. It's a very good colt. We're expecting a lot from him, but we think he needs a run before the carnival, so that will be very important for him.
And obviously, he's that little bit older than our 3-year-olds here. He looks a very strong, powerful horse.
Yeah, it's a very powerful horse. He has the 6 months advantage, but he will have to carry a penalty in weight against the Northern Hemisphere horses. But we are really happy with him, how he's doing.
Obviously, you brought some from England this time. He's come straight from Uruguay. Has there been a big difference in the two groups of horses that you brought home?
Yes, we have a mix in the horses. We have a group of horses that came from England, that were the carnival horses last season, and some horses that came from Uruguay. The horses that came from England came really well. We are really happy with the work that the people did over there with them. And the horses that came from Uruguay also doing well. We're happy with all the things that are going here.
You had a runner the other week in a Juste Fiscal. What did you make of his run over perhaps a trip that was maybe too short for him?
Well, yes, I think the trip was a little bit short for him, but also was a prep run for him for what will come for him in the carnival as well. And we are happy how he came out from the race, very sound and fresh. He's back in the track training again, so we expect he will have a good season also.
And what options are there for him next? I think the Mac 2 Challenge round 2 would be the step up in trip, or would you run in round 1 first again over?
Can be. Antonio still he didn't decide what he's going to do, but I think the option will be Mac 2 Challenge for him as well.
Yeah. And he obviously came from England with Upper Class, who ran in the sprints last year. How's he acclimatised?
Yes, he's doing well also. We are happy how he's doing, and still looking for options for him, but he will be entered really soon, I think.
I think the Garhoud sprint, is it on January the 1st, or has that come too soon for him next week?
Can be an option, yes.
And you've got exciting plans possibly as well, looking at Saudi for Aero Trem, who's one of the best horses in South America, is that right?
Yes, Aero Trem won impressively the Latin American Championship, and we are really happy with him. He's a proper racehorse, and he came here really well, traveled well, didn't lose much weight, and he's already training hard for that big race.
And would he go straight to Saudi, or would you look to get a prep in Dubai?
Still, we are considering a prep run, but maybe goes straight. The two options can be.
And are you confident that he's already going to get an invite to Saudi, or is that still an ongoing conversation?
Still waiting, still in conversation, but I think we are really close to that.
And he's a horse that's had his issues in South America in his time. Has he nearly died of colic at one stage?
Yes, Aero Trem won the first 2 legs of the Uruguayan Triple Crown, then had a huge colic and complications after that, and he came out well from that. It was a life-threatening issue. He was really sick, and then he came out really well to win 2 more Group 1s and now the Latin American Championship.
Yeah. What have you learned from that first season here that you can carry forward here this year?
Well, El Patriota, we are really happy with the results last season. Then he went to England, and now we are expecting a good season from him on turf. And we learn a lot of things, especially regarding the acclimatation of the horses and the track here, which is completely different to Uruguay. And we're expecting to have a good season with the things that we learn here.
It's interesting you mentioned turf. Would you have much turf racing back in Uruguay, or is it predominantly dirt?
Well, the Uruguayan track, it's a dirt track with a turf track, so the main races are on dirt. But we are still getting experience from that, and especially from the track here. And Antonio was training in Brazil before, so he knows well how to race on turf, as the turf races are really important in Brazil. So.
Yeah, they've got a strong team of horses here for the carnival. Of course, they are locally based, hence why they can have runners on tonight's card. When I say locally based, they are in a local stable rather than the quarantine stable, hence why Quality Boone can run in tonight's race. The trophy presentation for our previous race. This is acknowledging Mohammed Khalid Bin Suleiman from the Dubai Chamber as opposed to the actual winning prize, but all Dubai Chamber lending their name to all of tonight's races. So for me at least, two of the least interesting races are out of the way. Much prefer these handicaps coming up. I know in theory the maidens should be easier to solve, but surely the more interesting horses are coming up now.
I'm glad that you got Summers tomorrow then on the previous race. It's certainly not one which I'd sort of chosen in that one. I think there are obviously some good races ahead. Obviously, the Czech Business Council race at 8:20 is the one that I think everyone's got their eye on, seeing whether Kuzam can take that step forward from Jebel Ali. But the next contest, I think, pretty tricky as well. Very big field and a lot in with chances. Yeah, big field minus the one. Cosmo Kramer doesn't go, but we can show you the full list of runners who do. There are an interesting mix here of lightly raced sorts and a bit more exposed types that you'd expect in the handicap company. Fast Sky was a winner at Sharjah last time. George Bugle retains the ride. Island Rule backs up quickly after being a little bit disappointing at Jebel Ali a couple of weeks ago. Quality Boone, we just heard about him. Discovery Island was impressive in maiden company a couple of weeks ago. He now tries handicaps for the first time. Then Boston George has his first start for Doug Watson. Tabarak, one of three in there for Rashid Borsley. Then Hyde Park, the Mount of Royston French. Ala Malak was a winner on his reappearance last year, albeit at Jebel Ali. And then got Davy Lamp, another one who runs for the first time this season. Desert Destination with Gary Sanchez taking off 2.5 kilos. Sharam is the Mount of Richie Mullen. Speedy Move will break from the widest gate, which is now effectively stall 15. 13 doesn't go, then Renan, Antonio Fresu, Majula, another one in there for Ahmed bin Hamash, and finally Mayadeen. So let's start by looking at Fast Sky, who was impressive at Sharjah last time. He's gone up £8 for his troubles, but I think he's a generally progressive horse, isn't he? Yeah, he beat some decent sorts last time as well. 2.25 lengths ahead of Minosky. As you say, he's gone up £8 for it, and George Buckle retains the ride on him. He's clearly in good heart. I think certainly when it comes to recent form, he would have to be up there in terms of picks. The negative, I think, is Meydan. Is it the track for him? And also, he's got a pretty wide draw. It's also not so easy for him to get the lead against these kind of opponents as he did last time. He got off the mark back in April at Al Ain, and he seems to have resumed his progress well, winning easily at Sharjah. Different kettle of fish at Meydan, though. He was always well placed in that Sharjah race. Of course, a tighter track that it often serves to be close to the pace, as he was. So maybe a touch flattered to have won by so far, and he's obviously paid the price in the handicap as a result. This is Island Rule, who won his maiden at Jebel Ali towards the end of November. Yerman, the horse he beat, has been beaten since, so perhaps not a great deal of depth to that performance, and he was well held in handicap company last time, albeit off a slow start. He's by no nay never, so facing a more traditional dirt here tonight may just catch him out. He's got the visor on for the first time, though. Number 3 is Quality Boone, who's got that interesting profile of having come over from the southern hemisphere, hence why he carries his 3-year-old wait for age allowance. It's a tough task for him on just his third start here. Yeah, and he's a young 3-year-old as well. He's his southern hemisphere. Perhaps it's a shrewd placement with the race conditions, I'm not so sure. I went down the rabbit hole today of working out exactly where Moronis racetrack was, and looking at the picturesque view of the oval there and in Uruguay. I think he's an absolute wild card for this race. I've got absolutely no idea how he's going to perform. No, I don't either. They are, obviously, as we heard, looking at the Classic Series against his own age group, where he'll still have to concede weight, but they should step him up nicely for it. He would have had an option last week, but they've given him the extra 7 days, hence why he's here. Boston George will make his stable debut, has left Masaba Al-Maheri, now runs for Doug Watson. He was a bit awkwardly away last time before finishing 5th behind Imperial Empire. He's only had 3 starts in the UAE, and he's shown up well in a couple of big field handicaps, not beyond the realms of possibility he improves a bit for this stable either. Yeah, I think so. The thing for me about Boston George, he's sometimes a bit of a slow starter. It makes it tough to win these kind of races. Possibly also a mark of 80 may just be a touch too high. We'll have to see how much improvement perhaps Doug Watson can get out of him, if at all. I do think possibly he's in the grasp of the handicapper at the moment.
He came over to the UAE as a fairly exposed horse anyway. He's now had 18 career starts. This is Tabarak, who's got one of the most eccentric actions, I would describe it, in the UAE. He really splays out his front legs. He is talented, though, on his day, as he showed when beating Midnight Sands way back at the beginning of 2019. His career has been punctuated since, but his return was good behind Imperial Empire, who we'll see later.
It was, and that was a first start for an awfully long time, 11 months. First start of the season. He may have needed that as well, and he still ran pretty well behind Imperial Empire. I think it's quite an interesting one. He could have more to come this season. Still quite lightly raced. He's only had the 6 races to date, even though he's 5 years old and nearly 6. So it may be that even at this sort of later stage of development, he may still be improving.
I think he's definitely got more. Definitely got a bigger performance in him. He was rated 86 initially, now down to 79, so from a handicapping perspective as well, he's of some interest. Hyde Park's also dropped in the weights, but with justification. He tends to find a bit of a struggle. He's 1 from 15 on the surface, and that was a wide margin win at Jebel Ali, for which he paid the price in the handicap. He has dropped to a more realistic level now, but it was a weak, smallish field affair last time in which he finished 3rd. I just think this stronger race with more depth to it's going to catch him out.
Possibly the thing for me is that he's got a nice draw in 5. He did lead in that race here last time against Mokarab. He has got a relatively low strike rate, but he is on his last winning mark of 77.
Yeah, he will go forward from that gate, you'd imagine. Alam Malik, as I said earlier, won on his reappearance at Jebel Ali last year. Possibly more of a Jebel Ali horse. He's by Kitten's Joy as well, so they tend to do their best work on turf. And he was well beaten behind Sharam here on his final start last season. I think there'll be better days for him going forward, although the angle of going well fresh is of some interest, and it is as well to a degree with Davy Lamp, his stablemate. I don't think any of the Rashid Borsley horses running well in this would surprise me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point to say. And Davy Lamp, actually, if you look at Maidan form figures for Davy Lamp, they read 2-4, 4-4-2. And if you put a line through the last one, where obviously he finished 10th, he's actually put in some decent efforts here. Possibly his mark of 75 overdoes it, though.
Yeah, went up £5 for finishing 2nd on his penultimate start. That does take him to a career high mark, so he will need to improve. Dre de Vries rides, never easy to detect who is on the number 1 string for Rashid Borsley. He does tend to share the jockeys around a bit. Desert Destination is one of the best bred horses you'll see on tonight's card. He's a half-brother to Blue Point, no less. He's had 4 starts, only 1 for his current yard. He was well beaten in a maiden won by Tapi Tuition last time. And the switch to handicaps for the first time in the UAE is going to need to spark quite a big improvement, I think.
Yeah, I guess the thing you'd say is perhaps he'll strip a bit fitter for that run. He hadn't run since August 2020, so it's an awfully long time to be off the racetrack. So perhaps that effort for first start since being gelded and leaving Saeed bin Saror, Desert Destination from gate 1, perhaps there might be a better run in him.
Yeah, potentially. He's got the 2.5 kilo claimer on board as well. Gary Sanchez, Sharam. This one was a winner over this trip, this course and distance, on his final start last season. He's just looked to struggle to go the 6 furlongs in his 2 outings this year, I felt, and he's been given a bit of a chance by the handicapper, having dropped £4 for that last run.
Yeah, I guess he's not got that early speed to challenge in a lot of his races. I guess off 75, he is a course and distance winner. He's got to be in the mix off this kind of mark. It does look a tougher race than the one he won, though.
Speedy Move has been done no favours by the draw. He's installed 16, potentially ticking over ahead of a turf campaign. He is very well handicapped on dirt compared to his grass mark, though. This is Renan, who finished ahead of Hyde Park last time in finishing 2nd to Mokarab, but similar comments apply to him, that race didn't have a great deal of depth to it, albeit the plus side for him was just his 7th career outing.
It was, and you can't judge him too soon. I think the summer has brought a bit of improvement in him. He finished ahead of some decent enough types from bottom weight last time, and he did win in the US before the switching over here.
Yeah, it's his first start for a new yard as well. He used to be with Salem bin Gidayas. Majula, he probably should have won a race back in March 2020. Had a an absence to overcome when not showing a great deal behind Island Rule last time. And this is Mayadeen, who ranked fairly highly on consistency in this race, but it is a step up in grade from his second to final rock last time. I just wonder, with him being fairly well exposed, whether this better race is just going to catch him out a bit.
I'm not too certain. I think he's got a real chance. He's had a couple of course and distance wins off 75 and 74. Even off 67, he's still well within that comfort zone with the handicapper. He's got a good draw in too. I expect he'll be up with the pace, and the featherweight won't be any concern for him. I think he's certainly one that makes my shortlist.
Yeah, certainly one of a few that's dropped in the weights in this race and could be poised to strike. We didn't mention Discovery Island. I think we skipped over him in the parade. He was a maiden winner at Meydan last time, beating Zahul by 5 3/4 lengths. So he's just going through his shot in the yellow. It wasn't a race that had too much depth to it, but it was his first start on dirt, and he was well on top of the line over the 1200 metre trip. So return to 1400 will be no issue whatsoever, and he is one that has more improvement to come on the dirt surface. Let's bring Mikey in. Discovery Island, we were impressed with the way he looked physically last time. Similar comments apply just 2 weeks on.
Yeah, he was the last to come in the paddock. I think that was by design, and the parade ring rather. And was just very professional about himself. Just did his thing. I don't see any issues with him. He doesn't look like the race took much out of him. Same thing with Renan, his yard mate. I feel like they both, those two along with Far Sky, probably impressed me the most physically.
And Discovery Island, the fact he won a maiden last time, we shouldn't worry too much about a lack of experience for him at all, should we?
Not at all. He got a good education. He sat, as we mentioned, the further the better probably with him, at least up to 9 or so furlongs. But I feel like he was a little further back going 6 furlongs. He might be a little closer this time. He got an education, came up the rail, took some dirt, did what he had to do, tipped out, split horses. He might not even have to do that today. He's the horse to beat. I'm surprised he isn't lower than the 3-to-1 market, considering how facile his victory was, to be honest.
Yeah, this is Tabarak and Boston George in action last time behind Imperial Empire. I suppose a couple of questions really. How much is Tabarak going to build on this first run for the season, and how much can Boston George improve for joining Doug Watson?
I feel like it's less likely that Tabarak improves off this, and more likely that Boston George improves off his. Boston George has been a bit of a disappointment since he got here. He came in, they trained well apparently. I think it was with Musaba before. Had trained very well, just didn't really pan out in the afternoons, or evenings here rather. And perhaps, Doug's got him to a place where he can be competitive here. I don't think he's... out of the Doug trio, I would probably go for the other two before I'd go for him.
Yeah, it's unlikely he's been in the yard too long. Obviously, that was the 18th of November. So, who knows when he came to the Red Stables camp and how long they've had to work with him. You'd imagine 3 or 4 weeks based on when he ran there. There they are down at the start. Perhaps we can see Discovery Island winning his maiden. There he is on his way down. You can see he's a nice strong type, the type that's going to take well to the dirt. And I think the key thing about this race, Mikey, is that he went into it off a mark of 79. He'd been rated as high as 88 in his career for Charlie Appleby. The handicapper couldn't do too much with him based on the horses he was beating. So I think he's probably let in quite lightly here off 82.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes they can be a little more aggressive with the handicap. The handicapper could be more aggressive with the assignments, but this time he was not. Especially considering I think how easily he hit the wire here. He's trying here for a few strides to distance himself, and then it's just cake for the last 100 meters. He's barely trying. Just a very, very impressive run. I think they're just keeping him busy. He probably just really needed the run fitness-wise.
And maybe then the 2 weeks shouldn't be too much of an issue in terms of a quick turnaround.
No, not at all. At least on the first impressions, he doesn't seem like a horse that to me, I'm just judging on what I saw 2 weeks ago, and he's acting carbon copy to what he did then. Same thing with Renan, who ran really well last time as well.
Renan was in that Makarov race. I'm just tempted to say that when Makarov wins a race, then it's quite often lacking depth in behind, a horse that doesn't win too frequently, and he won that decisively. But obviously Renan could always take a step up from that. Anything else that you're of interest here? Island Rule, second start in a handicap.
Yeah, had
Fast
excuses.
Guy's gone up a bit for that win last time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Far Sky is done no favors with the draw or the impost, but he's coming in the right way, and I really like him here just because I don't mind the outside too much with him. I'd be worried about the inside. He's a quirky sort. If he gets a little bit of dirt in his face, he might not love it, or gives a little traffic rather. I like him on the outside in 13 to just sort of make his own luck from out there. He's got a little tactical speed. Wouldn't be surprised if George kind of just guides him over and gets him into that second flight and tries to make a run like he did last time.
Yeah.
He's coming from a 2-turn mile in a 16th race at Sharjah against some decent horses, but he put them to bed pretty quickly.
He did, yeah.
So, he deserves his 85 rating, and he's always hinted that he might be a decent horse. The rumor is that he's just always been a bit of a head case in the yard. And, just not the easiest horse to train, but when he wants to run, he runs well.
I think his form stacks up really well. Obviously beat Dubai Canal last year, who's won twice already this season. Minosky ran perfectly fine behind, I think it was one of Akmal bin Hamish's last week prevent maybe at Jebel Ali. So that form's worked out reasonably well. The 1400 metre start, because you can see, does give them a bit more opportunity to find their positions compared to the mile where they're straight in off that elbow. John, your final selection in this?
I'm going to go with the what appears to be quite big potential of Discovery Island.
Yeah, plenty of hope that he can improve on his initial mark of 82, Mikey.
I mean, I just really like the spacing of Far Sky's races, and despite the weight and post, I feel like he'll run a big race.
Yeah, no reason why he shouldn't continue his upwards curve. He is a horse going the right way, having had just the 12 starts here in the UAE. He's been in the first two in 50% of them. There is the Orange Army to consider as well, three of them, Tabarak, Ala Malik and Davy Lamp. There is horse number 14, Renan. That's the mount of Antonio Fresu. So it's certainly a competitive first handicap of the evening. The potential all lies with Discovery Island. Can he follow up his maiden win from here a couple of weeks ago? Let's find out with Alistair.
There's a destination is in. Hitting up Tabarak, Majula, Ala Malak is also set and ready. Majula Winton is Davy Lamp, Quality Boone. Boston George and Speedy Move. Boston George, Speedy Move, and Fast Guy was obscured by one of the pylons. Speedy Move, Fast Guy, set and ready. Gates are back, and they're racing to an even start. Mayadeen broke out well. There's a destination at a stall gate number 1 is handy enough. Hyde Park ridden at to get up to the lead. Then comes Tabarak, the orange jacket and black cap. Island Rule is handy enough. That's in the maroon and white colours. Fast Sky is on the far side. Then comes Davy Lamp, a couple of lengths behind the leader. Orange jacket and green cap. There's a destination after having a peak for the early lead. Gave way and now races midfield. Then comes Sharam, that's in the yellow colours, also racing midfield. Discovery Island's in and amongst runners are just running onto heels in the yellow sleeves and the red cap. Quality Boone tries to improve in the orange and blue colours, racing 3 wide on the outside. Fast Sky continues to cover the most ground. Then comes Majula. They followed by Speedy Move and a few lengths away to Ala Malak down the side of the course and past the 600 metres mark, and Mayadeen is in front. Got the lead by 1 length over Hyde Park, who races in second. Renan's in the third. Island Rule up the inside rail, needs a run, now switches off heels towards the outside as Davy Lamp. Sharam is in between runners. It's Mayadeen in the lead, got it by half a length, but Island Rule is now right there and draws level, and Island Rule just about takes the lead. Mayadeen tries to battle back. They clear of Renan, and Quality Boone up the outside is doing some good late work. It's Island Rule in front of Mayadeen. Quality Boone continues to catch the eye, nearest does as the line comes, and Quality Boone ran away. Quality Boone won it. Island Rule second. Third goes to Mayadeen. Fourth close. Discovery Island and Renan are involved. Then came Majula. Further back then we found the likes of Boston George, Tabarak was next to finish, a few lengths away to Far Sky. Then came Sharam. Out after those was Alamalak and Desert Destination. And they were pretty much the runners.
Performance from Quality Boone. 3-year-old, effectively against his elders, although coming from the Southern Hemisphere, he is, of course, 6 months older than the Northern Hemisphere bred 3-year-olds. But he's really picked up strongly down the outside, and what was just his 3rd career start, he was carrying plenty of weight with his official mark of 90, but he was well worth the win. And in the end, John, that was quite an eye-catching performance from him.
Yeah, it certainly was very impressive from Quality Boone. As I said before the race, I had no idea how he was going to perform tonight, but I don't know if I was expecting that. It was a very impressive performance coming right around the outside, picking off some decent rivals in the likes of Mayadeen and Island Rule. Thoroughly good performance from Quality Boone, especially from that wide draw.
Yeah, it certainly was a victory that didn't look likely once Island Rule hit the front, and Island Rule's run really well. Second start in a handicap, just that bit of experience under his belt has served him well. Mayadeen has plugged on for 3rd, but I'm going to take your hats off to Antonio Sintra, his assistant Julio Olasquaga, who was here supervising the horses, and they'll take a great deal of heart and comfort going forward for the rest of the season with this victory.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting run, because the horse really didn't look like he had much of a chance turning for home, and just got lucky that there was a split there, kind of made his own luck next to Far Sky coming through. He just had too much horse. And interesting, you know, carrying 61, 3-year-old, beating all his elders, only his 3rd start. It's an exciting horse.
Yeah, it certainly is. They'll have to look at the well, I suppose the Guineas would be the next logical option. I think the Guineas trial would come 2 or 3 weeks time, so maybe a bit more of a gap go forward into the Guineas itself. Well, they've certainly got that option now, put it that way, haven't they?
Well, if it were a year ago, he'd definitely have that option, but before next year.
Yeah.
So, no, I think he'll be a sort that probably they either back up with and maybe look at the Dubawi or something in that regard. You know, if they want to put him back in sprint races. But at this point, the handicaps are 7 furlong. I think there's a 7 furlong handicap.
He's eligible for the.
Is he eligible for?
He'll be like officially a 4-year-old. So is he not 3-year-old Northern Hemisphere? I might have that wrong.
Let's check that.
I'm probably wrong. You are. Yeah. So he's going to be. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I have to figure out. Let me get out my compass and my abacus here. So
he'll effectively still be 3 on January the 1st because he's bred in the Southern Hemisphere.
So he's going to carry the house, basically.
So he'll carry the house against. Yeah.
You're right then. Wow.
Yeah.
That makes him a serious player.
It does, yeah. El Patriota-esque.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had these proper Southern Hemisphere horse.
Yeah, it's only usually Mike de Kock, and then that's it.
Yeah.
Bringing them over from Argentina.
Been the better part of a decade since there's been a proper one.
So this could be. I presume we're right on that score, but anyway, he's
taken. I think he was born September 2018.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he's got to wait till July for his birthday.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. So he'll be heading for the 2,000 guineas next. I was just second-guessing myself there for a minute. Having interviewed the bloke and asked him those questions, I was wondering whether I was sounding like the fool for a minute. But he's definitely a good-looking horse, isn't he, as he walks in behind us. Quite a strong, powerful sort who could carry. But it will be quite a differential in those races. He'll be like on 59.5 and the rest are on like 54.5, so it's a 5-kilo penalty, which is not too insignificant. He's
showing that kind of constitution was really impressive, though, for a horse taking a lot of dirt and only in his third start.
Yeah, he's done very well to win from where he did in a race that did change complexion a little bit late on. Mayadeen was always prominent. You gave that one a bold shout, John, and he's certainly run well off his featherweight. Island Rule, it's basically the lightly raced sorts that have come to the fore here. Renan had only had 7 starts. The one horse where it did look to be happening a bit too quickly for her again was Discovery Island. He eventually finished 5th, but I think he already looks in need of a mile, doesn't he?
A lot of horses kind of had to take the overland route, and only one of them really was good enough to come through and get it done. Perhaps the 2 weeks was just not exactly what we would prefer. But I do think he does have a ample quality and will be one to watch next time.
Yeah, 2 weeks coupled with the trip that might just be on the short side for him as well. But take nothing away from this horse. It was a fantastic performance there. Is Wagner Leal on board this one. His second winner in the UAE. Of course, El Patriota last season was his first. They've got a nice little team. A few of these horses went back to England over the summer. Obviously, this one came straight from Uruguay. And he's done what very few have done over here in recent times, take on his elders and win a handicap as a fairly young 3-year-old. But there's the start again. Island Rule in the white cap has broken on terms today and always been prominent. Mayadeen has been able to grab the rail as Desert Destination didn't have the pace to hold that position. So, in effect, the second and third have always been well placed, which maybe adds further kudos to the winner.
Honestly think it's a really good run from Quality Boone. As you say, I think Island Rule obviously had a really good effort last time. Time before last at Jebel Ali, before disappointing at the same location last time. And Mayadeen, who's clearly been well handicapped, has run a good race after having bagged the lead for a lot of the contest. But as he sort of turned for home, he's still got quite a lot of work to do, hasn't he, the eventual winner? Coming right round the outside. Here you're thinking Mayadeen's got a great position, Island Rule's running well, and then suddenly you catch the eye of Quality Boone rattling down the outside, and fair play to the winner. It's he was the wild card going into the contest. He's no wild card anymore.
No, he's also just waited for a bit of a gap there as Tabrak tries to hold his position. Discovery Island, I think, has finished off well enough to give him another chance over the mile next time. He was another one that struggled to go the early pace, and he'll be a wiser contender next time, I think.
Yeah, and if you do look back at his performance last time here, he did break really badly then.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He's clearly not got out the greatest on this occasion, and he does actually like to lead. So perhaps things haven't sort of dropped his way in races late. He got away with it last time. Today he just had far too much work to do.
He did. There is Island Rule, who looked the likely winner at this stage and fully justifying his initial assessment in the 80s, which wouldn't have been an easy assignment for him, taking on these more experienced horses. It's all about the winner going forward. It's hard to be too positive about anything else other than Discovery Island. The two, well, certainly Discovery Island, the interesting maiden winner going forward, and this horse was, well, we were just completely stabbing in the dark, really, weren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other one I would say is Mayadeen, who's done pretty well from that low weight. He's clearly well handicapped, and I wouldn't be surprised if Doug Watson can find him a race.
He'll certainly be eligible for lesser races as well. So yeah, definitely agree with Mayadeen. I didn't give him too much of a squeak beforehand, but he was clearly a horse that arrived in form, uncomplicated, and he should go well. His overall win record isn't the most inspiring, but he remains in form, and that was a good performance from Mayadeen. But the winner was Quality Boone for Antonio Sintra, who is not yet here. Well, he has been here in the UAE to oversee his horses initially, but he's obviously gone back home, and we'll hopefully see him during the carnival before the season is out. Time now, though, to pay our second visit of the evening to David Egan, who looks back further on a great 2021. And Mishriff aside, the rest of 2021, it's kind of got lost in the watch. You actually finished second in a derby as well. That was must have been a thrilling.
Fantastic spare ride to pick up. Mojo Star for Mr. Hannon and Amo Racing, who's becoming a big powerhouse now in world racing, have horses all around the world. So it was nice to get that call up and to finish behind, obviously, Adair, who's beaten me a couple of times this season. So it was fantastic, and a couple of other. Good horses. Bayside Boy ran well a couple of times at Group 1 company, so very lucky man.
I was going to come on to Bayside Boy. Could he be your Guineas horse potentially going forward?
Yeah. He's a lovely horse by New Bay for good connections. obviously Mr. Varian, who I've been based with since I was apprentice. So to have a horse like that to ride is special. He won the Champagne Stakes very impressively, and obviously a couple of things could have gone better in his 2 Group 1s, but that's racing, and hopefully he can train on, as you could say, and never know, Guineas could be a target, yeah.
And how did you assess your overall tally of 66? Obviously plenty of quality amongst that, and plenty of international winners as well on top.
Absolutely. Obviously I've got my busy time in the Middle East and overseas, so I don't really get back to England till sort of middle of April time, after my quarantine, after Dubai World Cup night. So I'm obviously I'm a bit on the back foot getting there, as everyone's already flying through early March, April. So no, I had a good season. Taurus and my sponsor Sheikh Khaled, and obviously my Fauzi Nas connection in Bahrain, which continues there in the UK. He's got a lot of nice horses there, so no, a lot of nice ammunition for next year.
You're obviously young, you're very driven, it seems. Probably not too dissimilar to maybe Asheen Murphy. You kind of seem like he's had to go through this year. Does that sort of put you off being the sort of jockey that just wants to chase everything? Are you happy with your lot for now?
To be fair, I'm hungry as ever, and I'm young, full of energy, and if there's rides to be had, I'll go anywhere. So obviously it's quality that you want, but anywhere you have is just building your connections, and that's very, very important in this day and age.
Obviously your father as well, John's heavily involved in racing. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Absolutely, so he's still riding better than ever, and no, it's fantastic to see him still riding plenty of winners. He had a good season, and hopefully he'll ride for many more years to come.
You probably go to Bahrain to get away from him, but he's there as well, isn't he?
He's there as well. He's got a couple of horses for the Bahrain Turf Series, which is a great initiative for Bahrain. So no, a lot of exciting things for the future there.
And you hope to be back here at Meydan in March, or even throughout the carnival?
Yeah, hopefully have a couple of trips throughout. If I'm as I said, if I'm wanted, I'll come anywhere, so hopefully I can make a couple of trips over on a Thursday.
Here we go, Julio Lasquaga, assistant trainer for Antonio Sintra. Quality Boone might be a horse to really reckon with as the carnival approaches. Look at that win, how'd you like it?
Perfect, it was an amazing win. The horse did really well since he arrived to Dubai. We're really happy with him. Just arrived 28 ago, adapted really fast, did a work here and impressed us, and Antonio decided to enter him in this race. He was carrying a lot of weight and racing against all the horses, which is not ideal, but I think this is a perfect prep run for the carnival for him.
Yeah. And in the carnival, are you looking at these races where he will have to carry a little bit of weight, say like the Guineas Trial?
Exactly, yes, he will have to carry extra weight because he's a Southern Hemisphere bred horse, but he proved today that he can do it, no problems.
All right, we got this one off the board, and any more to come? Anybody you looking forward to running now?
As you know, we have like around 8 horses here in Dubai, and so far I cannot tell you more which ones are running, but that's Antonio's call. But all the horses are doing well, and we are really happy how they're doing this season so far.
Best of luck to you. There we go.
Yeah, congratulations to Team Antonio Sintra. Hopefully the first of a few victories for them this season. The crowd have been going nuts behind us for Faces at the Races, which is a new innovation this year, where the crowd, the camera focuses in on one member of the crowd and they can win 500 dirhams. It seems as though that's the only reason why most people are here. The third contest then, the trophy presentation, this was Mr. Geoffrey Bunatel, the chairman of the French Business Council, doing the honours for that third race. Our fourth contest isn't a million miles away, so we can look at the conditions for this race. The best of the night, no doubt. Kazam, the highest rated horse on the card. Whether he's quite worthy of his 116, well, maybe tonight will tell us, but he was certainly a talented sort in the UK. Lord only knows what's happening here. I think this is
this is the French Business
Council. Yes.
Very well dressed, I must say.
Yeah, and they are enjoying their evening here at Meydan. But as I said right at the start of the night, getting more people involved in the sponsorship is getting a load more people in the crowd. There's not just, the same stagnant trophy presentations. We're seeing big groups of people, and not a very festive feel to tonight, but I'm sure there'll be a few parties going on up there in the hospitality areas.
I think it's great getting different people involved. Obviously, if you look through the card tonight, you'll see the sort of variety of countries that they've tried to involve in this. The Czech Business Council sponsoring the main race through Dubai Chamber, and I'd be interested to find out how Dubai Chamber chose which of the many foreign councils there are here to come along tonight.
Unfortunately, I don't think these people realise that this isn't part of the Faces at the Races deal. There is the winner there. She was the lucky recipient of 500 dirhams.
How can you not when you've got that frame photograph?
She came very well prepared for that. But in all truth, in all honesty, and 500 dirhams is quite a lot of money to some of these people. I say it in jest, but I'm sure some of them do come for the racing. But with the opportunity to win such great prizes offered by the Dubai Racing Club, why wouldn't you make a night out with the family and come and try your best? There'll be a few people struggling in the pick 6, particularly if they've listened to myself, and I was going to say you and I, but I wouldn't wish to tie you with the same brush. But
well, look, we started the evening off. What more can people want?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's obviously a tricky race. It was very, very impressive performance there, but as we said, it was a wild card and a wild shot, and if you've managed to select Quality Boone, very well done.
Some people just look at the fact they won last time out, which he did, so maybe that's the reason why he went into some people's pick 6s. Hopefully he did. The fourth race then is the Czech Business Council rated conditions race. This is over the 1,400 metres with a prize pool of 105,000 dirhams. Some familiar names in here, plus the odd exciting one as well. And this makes for tonight's feature. Headed by Kazam then, rated 116, the amount of Dano Nick. By Kazam then, rated 116, the amount of Dano Nick. Shadwell, then Quip, one of a couple in there for RRR Racing. Royston French riding that one. The old favourite Bochart, likely to see him go from the front. Sean Curran claiming the 1.5 kilos. Then Kimber, first start for Bupat Sema. 2 in there for Rashid Borsley, both ex-Godolphin horses. They are Lord Tennyson and Boccaccio. Then Sakara King, another one that came through the Race in Dubai sale. That one used to be with Charlie Appleby. Certis, first start for Ahmed Al-Shamali. And finally Imperial Empire, who was a good winner here last time out. Tiger Shea on board that one. So it's quite a tricky race to get a hold on, with Kazam rated 116, and the conditions of the race, we keep reiterating, they're in sort of bands of weight. So anything rated 100 and above carries 60 kilos. Anything rated anything 105 and above carries 60 kilos. Anything rated 100 to 105 carries 1.5 kilos less, and it keeps working down in those £5 bands, which puts Kazam well clear off 116 and very well in with all of these. It's whether you believe he can run anywhere near 116 on dirt. He ran well at Jebel Ali, but this is a different test for him today.
Yeah, I mean, the horses who were ahead of him at Jebel Ali are rated 95 and 110. The form from that race hasn't looked too strong either, so there are reasons for concern perhaps, and he's very short on the international markets, and potentially he's not really got that proven dirt form to merit it.
Story of Light was second on that occasion. He was well beaten last week, and his mark of 116 is effectively a Group 1 performance, but he's only ever won 2 conditions races on the all-weather and placed in 2 listed races, so it could be quite high. We'll find out in time. Quip is a formerly classy sort whose best days do seem to be behind him. Either that or he's just taken a while to acclimatise to racing here in the UAE, but he is a Grade 2 winner at his prime. Not a great deal of encouragement to be gleaned, I didn't think, with his 4th behind for the top, but he was pushed forward to lead after a slow start, so maybe he can build on that. This horse Bochart, we know all about him. He's an 8-year-old, he likes to go forward, and he's likely to have improved a lot for that first run of the season.
It's funny, I feel like Bochart improves every year despite being an 8-year-old. I think possibly the Group 3s he contested here last season were a big ask, and that course and distance win in a handicap in April was probably more his bag. Wasn't the greatest effort last time. Prior to that he'd won obviously in April, but he was well away last time, and I like the fact that he can lead from different positions, and coming out of stall 4 he'll find himself handy.
His hand was forced last year going into those group races because he'd had such a good previous season, but just struggled and maybe more in need of 7 furlongs and a mile this campaign. Kimber has been an underachiever, I think, compared to what expectations have been laid in front of him. He wasn't disgraced behind Radani last time, finishing 4th in that Jebel Ali Classic. Now makes his seasonal debut for a new yard. Lord Tennyson cost Rashid Borsley just 70,000 dirhams out of the John Gosden yard, a horse that's often threatened to do better than what is shown. Finished midfield in the Royal Hunt Cup back in 2020. It's probably quite a stiff enough task for him though, and his UAE debut.
I think it probably is. I think 70,000 dirhams though for one who's bred like this and is clearly, got some ability is quite a steal. Former John Gosden trained, of course, Lord Tennyson, and finished, as you say, mid-div in the 2020 Royal Hunt Cup. He actually started favourite for that race. That's how well he was regarded at the time. He clearly, obviously, hasn't trained as well as expected since then, and it's interesting to see how Rashid gets on with him.
Yeah, he is out of the foul. The dam is related to Overdose, that freakish sprinter we saw a few years ago. Might be a horse that's better at shorter, can be keen going. Boccaccio is another one that Rashid Borsley bought for slightly more, 180,000 dirhams. Initially cost 850,000 as a yearling, so a bit of depreciation in his value. But again, a nice lightly raced sort who he could get something out of in time. Maybe not first time though.
Yeah, actually cost more, 180,000 dirhams. Former Charlie Appleby dirt debut, bit of an outsider.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Rashid Borsley's pair, they certainly were good enough at one stage if they did bounce back. Sakara King, there's quite a bit of talk about this one initially when he was with Charlie Appleby. He is by American Pharaoh. He did try the dirt once last year, but he dropped away very tamely. He also ran 6th in the turf handicap behind Star Safari. So he is the type that his new yard do pretty well with, just getting on his toes there in the parade ring. And we've not seen too many Frankels in Dubai either, but Curtis is by he, and he's another one to have left prominent yards elsewhere and come over to the UAE.
Yeah, he had some ability in France for Andre Fabre, but his 2 starts for the Crisfords in the UK were pretty poor. His first start now for his new trainer and a UAE debut. I'd say even at his best, he wouldn't really have the skill for this race or the ability. And I also severely doubt that dirt is his game.
No, he might struggle in this. Imperial Empire has a completely different profile to a few of these, in that he's very unexposed. He made his dirt debut a winning one when beating Tabarak last time out. I'm not totally sure that form was franked in our previous race with Tabarak only finishing around about 6th or 7th, but he showed good speed to lead on that dirt debut. Stall 9 might make that troublesome tonight, particularly with Bochart in opposition.
Yeah, absolutely. I think 9 won't help him at all. He does have the ability to lead, but perhaps from that wide draw, not so easy. He is 2 from 3 at Meydan, and he's still improving. He's been in good form, but obviously stepping from that 65 to 85 handicap into this kind of company, he is rated significantly inferior to some of these on his known form.
Yeah, and these rated conditions races haven't really favoured those more down towards the foot of the weights. They are kind of framed for the class acts, which Kazam is excuse me, in this race, and those more towards the foot tend to be I wouldn't say out of the handicap, but you know what I mean, badly treated as such. They would be better off at the weights if it was to be a true handicap, which this isn't. There's Bochart leading them out. I mean, he's nearly 9 now, so he could be one that needs a 3rd run just before we see him to peak. He's a horse that carries plenty of condition. There's a grey Sakara King. He looks really well, but just on his toes, you can see Pat Cosgrave gone to the length of just keeping his feet out the irons. Similarly, Bernardo Pinheiro on Curtis. Sakara King, did you give this one much of a chance? I kind of brushed over him a bit.
Yeah, I think possibly it might be harder for him to lead as well. Obviously, he's been racing over significantly further than this, and I think it could well be that he needs perhaps a further drop-in trip even from this. I think he's one to keep an eye on this season. He has placed in listed races in France. He has been well held in those 2 starts here in this country. But he could be an improved horse this term. It was obviously a very long absence since August 2019 before those 2 starts. So it could be another one, as you said, with Bochart, one who might need a few runs to get cracking.
It certainly seemed fairly wound up for this. Whether that materialises in a speedier show, as you say, dropping down in trip, whether he is more of a miler anyway. He was entered in the Crete Mile last week. Obviously that race was quite deep, which presumably persuaded them to take a pull and come back this week instead. But it's a fascinating race, Mikey. Kind of a strange makeup, really, because we've got 3 older horses in there: Quit, Bochart, Kimber. Then we've got 4 who are making their UAE debuts, and then Kazam and Imperial Empire, who, well, we don't know a great deal about, but they've had that initial experience in the UAE now.
Yeah, I mean, there's I think you have to go back to who do you think is going to be ready right now. Some yards, first time in the OE, they're fine, some not. Some horses really need that first, or some yards definitely need that first run on their horses. To me, it looks like you have to err on the side of experience here. Especially if you're being a little bit more conservative. The Beauchart, Kimber, those are the sorts that you want to look at and be like, okay, they run extremely well here. They have the back class, especially Kimber has a lot of back class. And he had every excuse to tail off a little bit last season. Interesting in here is the Borsley pair really just kind of they throw me for a little bit of a loop. Because Lord Tennyson has a lot of class to him going around the parade ring, and then you look at his back class and you're like, oh, there it is. He's running against Mohather, Happy Power, Dark Vision, Maurice Diamond. These are solid horses he's running against. Boccaccio, on the other hand, is bred, being a Dubawi, to probably handle this surface just fine. So there's every chance there that both of them could go on nicely. Sakara King looked like a monster.
He did, didn't he? Yeah,
he looks better than any horse today.
Yeah.
He's been training apparently very well. I know Antonio, who's not riding him today, but did have a chance to go gallop him at Zabeel a few weeks ago, and he said he's just a great mover and just a solid racehorse. And I was lucky enough to be around his mother when she ran, and she was a Grade 1 winner in the States, Joyful Victory, and she was a free runner on the front end. She looked just like him. It was just a big gray thing, and for Larry Jones and Fox Hill Farm, and she would her best distance was around 9 furlongs when she needed that. She needed to be able to get out there and run freely, and I think he's going to be the same way. It's not going to be his best trip. I talked to the owner, Syed Hashish. He agreed with our. He said, "I watched you last night, and I agree with you. He probably needs another 200 meters, but the race will bring him forward nicely, and they'll see what they have against this lot."
I think Sakara King was about one of about 10 American-bred horses that Godolphin bought, that Charlie Appleby brought here as yearlings / 2-year-olds. Gave them a bit of time, but only just made it to the track last year. Desert Peace would have been another one. Anyway, this is Kazam finishing third behind Al Tariq. He went to win his race. Al Tariq is obviously a very classy performer, particularly Jebel Ali sprints. Story of Light didn't do a great deal for the form last week. His rating of 116, I mean, where does the truth lie in this? It's hard to get a grasp on because of the races he was winning. Conditions events on the all-weather at Lingfield at the beginning of 2021. He then bombed out completely 2 starts afterwards. So that figure's going to come under some sort of pressure if he can't run a place here, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a very perplexing rating in general for me. I don't know. I mean, who did he run against at some point? I mean, was it his 5-length drubbing of Mums Tipple? I mean, Mums Tipple's a decent animal. Is that the rate? And I can't see that giving him 116. There's nothing about his career that says, well, this is a edge of Group 1 horse.
No.
And to me, if you take that out and you put the ratings aside, and you look at what the bare bones of this form, he honestly stacks up very squarely with Quip, Beauchart, and Kimber.
Yeah, he's by no means.
I mean, it's just, and the thing is, he has to prove himself on a traditional flat dirt surface with the sand in it, which is very different from Jebel Ali going up the hill with a little bit of synthetic aspect to it.
Yeah, I think people are getting carried away with his rating. The fact he is well in at the weights. We just saw Imperial Empire winning there, and as I said earlier, the frame of these races aren't really suited to those down the bottom, but he is one that brings quite a bit of potential to the party, particularly on the dirt. He's only had the one go on it, and that was victorious.
He's the first one in all the rated conditions events we've seen so far, glorious as they are, who actually benefits a bit from this and is weighted nicely against him being at 54. I feel like Imperial Empire has room to grow, should move forward, making only his 10th start. He's second choice in the market right now, which is, he was when I checked this morning, so that was quite shocking to me. But Tig did choose him, and he had his choice of a few in here. So, I mean, I do expect him to be top 3 in this race.
We did obviously just see Tabarak get beaten into 6th in the previous race, though, so I think that takes a bit of shine off the form from that race last time. Yeah. I would say I totally agree with both of your comments in that, you look at Kuzam, does he deserve that rating of 116 on what he's shown here? No. Which brings horses like Quip, who used to be rated 113, Kimber, who used to be rated 113, right into contention again against him.
Yeah, it's a fabulous little puzzle, really, in that respect, because we are trying to guess to what extent Kazam is worthy of that. He's been placed twice at listed level, but he's now odds-on favourite, just looking at the international markets, which seems a little bit of an overreaction. He was a neck behind Kenway in a listed race. I'm just looking back at some of his second placings, but they've all come on an artificial surface. He beat Ambassadorial at Chelmsford on one occasion, but it's all sort of its and bits of form. Mums Tipple and Bless Him at Lingfield. You know, these are run-of-the-mill all-weather horses, really. He's obviously been very impressive, but when you see a horse like that, Kitten's Joy as well, who you refer to as perhaps being more of a turf horse, what I would say about this race is that Doug Watson's going to find out a lot. He knows whether he's going back to turf or sticking with the dirt after it, doesn't he?
And I think that he thinks that the horse just doesn't like the grass and might just be, you know, and if he doesn't like the dirt, then he's just going to be a nice Jebel Ali horse for a few years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their fact-finding mission with him. Oh, I'm really kind of interested to see what happens with Quip here. He showed so much speed last time, and is he going to show that foot from the outside? Is he going to, you know, pressure the horses inside of him? Is Royston going to cross over? He didn't cross over earlier with Rawi, but he might have to do it here.
It looks like it's going to be quite a hotly contested at the start.
And if Beauchard has to break, and whenever he does not break, he's not a horse. He's a barrel, so it's not like he has to break, or then he just chucks the race at that point.
Yeah. He was well enough away last time, but I think Tygo O'Shea knew that he was never going to cross and lead and be able to win first time out either, given his size. There's the Frankel horse going forward, Certis. So intriguing little race. I just about went with Beauchart in the hope that he could lead. John?
I thought Kuzan was too short. I went with Quip.
Quip and Mikey?
I went with the other Triple R. I went to Kimber. I've been complaining for 3 years that he's a 7-furlong horse, and he finally gets a chance to run against horses that he can beat. Yeah,
and a nice break will do him some good as well. He had some real fierce battles in those group races for Doug Watson, both as a 5, 6 and 7-year-olds. There's Lord Tennyson. It'd just be like Rashid Borsley to go and spoil the party with one of his two. They certainly have a bit more scope about them in terms of form and potential than some of his purchases, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. Let's head up to Alistair.
Quip is ready. Imperial Empire.
Watch over there, Billy. Behind you, Billy. Pull him in first. Just wait. All right.
Kuzan. Sakara King. Beauchart. Kuzan. Here comes Beauchart. Sakara King will complete the lineup. Just about ready. Set. Gates cracks open. And they're racing with Beauchart a step slow. Boccaccio hit the line running. Kuzan right there in the early stages, just tugging his way to the early lead. Certis against the inside. Lord Tennyson really busts a gut to get up handy, and now Lord Tennyson is in front. Kuzan will be more relaxed that he's got something to follow. 3 lengths away to Boccaccio, but they're going gung-ho up front. Then comes Imperial Empire, the gold colours racing it there outside. Certis against the inside rail. Then comes Sakara King, the grey, who must be racing a good 7 lengths off the leader. Quip is even deeper out. Then comes Beauchart, and Kimber is out at the end of the field. Lord Tennyson in front by 1 length. Kuzan is right there in second as the front 5 stack up. Then comes Certis against the inside rail, racing in third. Imperial Empire takes the scenic route but gets a little bit closer. 2 lengths away to Boccaccio, who's just losing his way. At their outside is Kimber, and then comes Beauchart, the green colours, over towards the far side, but now they're homeward bound towards the final 400 metres, and Kuzan given more rain. In front, a length and a half. Imperial Empire chases. Then comes Certis, who races away in third. At their outside is Kimber. Kuzan got a knuckle down because Imperial Empire is all over him, and into the final 200 metres, Imperial Empire went clear. Certis is second. Kuzan got nothing to come. Imperial Empire 2 lengths to the good, and Sakara King, number of lengths away to Boccaccio. And the early pace told here, with Lord Tennyson having a short-lived vigil up front in the early stages.
Well, that's a very nice performance by the lightly weighted Imperial Empire, who was just very content to let others get on with it early on. Maybe sat a touch wide from his draw, as he was obliged to do, but he let Lord Tennyson, he let Kazam just go at it and pick them off quite comfortably in the straight, and he's clearly a very progressive horse, John.
Clearly is, and you know, it's fascinating to see that you know the choice was there for Tiger, and he's absolutely made the right one. He's now 3 from 4 at Meydan, and really good step up from that 65 to 85 handicap into what looks like a very decent rated conditions race against top quality opponents, and he's won it relatively comfortably.
He has. What do you make of the performance of Kazam, Mikey? Because he showed lots of speed to lead. He is proven over a mile, albeit perhaps an easier mile than what Meydan would present, but he did sort of check out very tamely in the end, didn't he?
I just think he's not a natural dirt horse. Just couldn't really pick up, couldn't hit the ground the way you would like to. You know, like you see a Kittensroy finish on the grass or the all-weather. He was moving fairly well, but when the real running started, he really didn't have an answer.
So he's more of a sit and quicken horse, isn't he, rather than a go flat out all the way around.
And I think that the essence of dirt racing, he was doing it really well for the first 5 furlongs, and then for the last 2, he just didn't have it. He didn't have that grind on that you really need in dirt racing, and the winner definitely has it. He is truly an interesting sort going forward, and I'm going to harp on this again about Albar. He's a full brother to Albar, Grade 1 winner on the grass for Charlie, a 2-year-old who I think is wintering in Dubai. I'm hoping he is. I really want to see him on the Derby Trail, the UAE Derby Trail.
Well, given that he was the one that didn't go in the stalls, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's the one that decided to try to go over the stall.
Yeah,
yes.
If he'd have run in America, he might not have come here, but given he missed that run, they might be tempted to.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked. Charlie's, game for it if he's got the sort. Yeah. I mentioned it to him while we were in Bahrain. He's like, you never know. It's typical. Well, but this is Imperial Empire is very exciting. He's really climbing the ladder nicely. He took advantage of that 54 impost, and Tig really had him perfectly timed. Yeah,
just his 10th career out in his 2nd win from 2 starts on dirt. As John mentioned, he was also a winner on the turf here last year. He obviously missed the entirety of 2020, and when you've got horses like that in Godolphin, they can be, I wouldn't say lose patience, but obviously their focus is more on the young talent coming through, and these horses, as we say time and time again from the Racing Dubai sale, they just need a bit of time to grow and mature, particularly the Dubawis. They get better with age, and he only won a handicap off 77 last time. He was only off 54 kilos here, but he is very much going the right way, and another nice horse in the making for Al Rashid Stables. They could have another nice one as well in our next race in the form of Al Nafud. The surprising element to the finish was Certis in 2nd. The Frankel horse ran well. Kimber just seemed to, we'll get a better look at it, Mikey, but he seemed to sort of throw his head around a little bit when he came under pressure, whether he was just hanging to his left a little bit, I don't know.
And he might have been a bit ring rusty. He is 7 now, so I mean, he's coming into his 8-year-old season. He's a sort that I think he doesn't have the same foot he used to. I mean, he once won a race here, I think, gate to wire, going 7 furlongs. He doesn't have that same speed anymore, but he did have a nice finish, and I think that was all class coming through at the end. Around the turn, he really put in a nice run. I could see Antonio telling Bupat now that he was trying on him on the turn. He really finished nicely for him. So he's one that has every right to move forward. You'll probably see him in Stakes Company next up.
Less encouragement from the other RRR racing horse in Quip.
Yeah,
just a confusing race.
Quip just didn't get out at all, and from there, he never put into the race.
Yeah, Beauchart missed the break as well. That was his race. Very much over from the start. He's actually done okay in the end to finish 5th, but it was a distant 5th behind the winner, Imperial Empire. Another one on the night for Tygo Shea and Bupat Seemar. Tygo Shea reasserting his dominance at the head of the Jockeys Championship this evening with a double already. He won't be in action at Jebel Ali tomorrow. Takes the early flight home to see his family for the holidays. But this horse is a nice one to look forward to at the carnival, and he'll enter the carnival on the back of this. He was rated 85. He'll surely go up above that 90 mark, and you'd imagine they'll find a nice handicap with him he seemed to be running around a little bit in the straight as well, just getting a bit lonely out in front and suggesting there was a bit more left in the locker.
I think there certainly is more left in the locker, and yeah, the placement of him will be quite interesting.
I'm sure they'll go the handicap route. Let's take him from the start again, and he broke well Imperial Empire, and Tig was never too concerned about getting him to the front, and he's shown two ways about him now. Made all the running last time and has just sat in midfield here, albeit not facing any of the kickback as Lord Tennyson went forwards. I think that horse will improve a lot for the run fitness-wise. Whether he's going to be confirming his earlier promise for John Gosden is debatable. Sakara King was a bitter disappointment in the grey. He just never ever threatened to get involved, even allowing for the fact a mile might be on the short side for him.
Yeah, it could be. What I would say about Lord Tennyson is, this is a first start on dirt, and I guess for a first go, he's done relatively well, and it has been an awfully long time since he's been on a racetrack, not since August 2020. So they were never going to ask too many questions of him. But he still haven't completed the turn for home, and he's sort of run out of juice. I think you could see him to better effect, obviously on turf, in perhaps an easier race than this.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the plan, that they try in the dirt, see what happened, but then would have turf options. I thought Certis was going to come and actually take Imperial Empire at this stage, but Imperial Empire's found plenty and eventually won really well. But the Frankel horse, who we never really gave too much time to beforehand, has run a cracker first time for Ahmed Al Shamali.
Yeah, absolutely, it has. Obviously, another one who's been off for a while, since June, and the last time we saw him at Salisbury, he was beaten out of sight by Johan, and it's a much improved performance. Obviously, a first start on dirt, and sort of questioning the breeding perhaps for this surface, and sometimes they just go on it, and Certis certainly seems to have taken to it.
Just looking at Kazam there, a bit of a closer shot of him. He just seems to be carrying his head a touch awkwardly. I don't know whether that's a fundamental sign of him not really enjoying the surface, or whether he is a bit tricky. It just looks to have a touch of an awkward head carriage there, and the way he's checked out of things, I wouldn't be totally surprised if they did maybe find something a little bit wrong with him other than the surface, which ultimately may not suit either. But back to the drawing board a little bit with him.
Yeah, he's carrying the biggest weight out of the bunch, and he has run okay for certain stages of the race. He did use up an awful lot of energy though to try and get to the lead position. They were trying to take the advantage of that draw in too. They knew it was going to be a contested lead. He got there, only to be seen that the Lord Tennyson came all the way around the outside to pip in front of him. Maybe he just didn't get the position he needed to. He's got against the rail here, and he's already sort of backpedaling at this stage. Winner comes on so strongly, and really impressive from Imperial Empire, and one to stick with this season.
Most definitely, yeah. The disconcerting element to me about Kazam is that he's travelled best, probably even travelled better than the winner, and he's still only finished fourth. For a horse that is proven over a mile, then yeah, whether, as Mikey kind of said, he was going flat out for those first 5 furlongs, and that's the different aspect of a dirt race compared to Lingfield, where you tootle around for half a mile and then sprint at the end. But let's find out a little bit more about an exciting horse for Al Rashid Stables with Mikey.
With Saadadin from Al Rashid Stables, it's your 5th win of the season. This horse has really come along nicely for you.
Oh yeah, but actually this is the code for Dibawi. After 4 years, they turn to be something really good, and I mean most likely. So yeah, we were choosing the best races for him. It was a very tough race for him. We knew it, but since that he has holding the minimum weight of the race, so I think the last race that he did also in the same distance, he won easily. His galloping it was so good at home. Yeah, so why not? We sent him a hard race, and he showed his true color in this race.
Do you think he can be a carnival sort, to step up to that level even more?
Well, that is our wishes, of course. But I mean, today, racing among horses that rated over 100 and winning was easy. I think he's gonna be something in the carnival. Yeah, we're gonna keep him fresh for the carnival. That's for sure.
And Al Rashid Stables is obviously doing very well. You're having a big season, 5 wins so far from only, I think, 34, 35 starts. Just talk about the success so far this season. How exciting is it for you?
Well, honestly, like every success, you need to see what's behind of it, right? Like we've been working so hard before that, all over the sales, studying everything, going back to the pedigrees to the end, and see what suits Dubai for the best, because Dubai races is super hard. The competition is so hard. Yeah, and it's paid off, thanks God, and we're still looking forward for better, and hopefully we're gonna come better as well.
Well, best of luck with that, and we'll see you at the carnival.
Thanks, mate. Hopefully. Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, there just seems to be a never-ending supply of good horses that have been bought by Al Rashid Stables, and there's a good chance we might see one, as I mentioned, in our next race with Al Nafud as well. The trophy presentation about to take place then for our 4th race. This was the Czech Business Council rated conditions race, and doing the honours as part on behalf of the Czech Business Council is His Excellency Oldřich Zajíček, who is the Deputy Ambassador of the Czech Republic here in the UAE. And it's an impressive horse we've just seen in Imperial Empire, and we'll see Al Rashid Stables collect the trophy. Bupat Seemar and Tygo Shea on the double. Of course, tonight, having been successful earlier with Summer is tomorrow. And Saeed Adam collecting the trophy as racing manager for Al Rashid Stables, as you've just heard from him now. So 2 more races to go. That was officially the feature. No trophies for trainers and jockeys, which is always a bit of a bugbear of ours. But there is Saad collecting the winning trophy on behalf of Al Rashid Stables. Of course, Imperial Empire came from Godolphin. Godolphin have got a huge programme for horses who come here to be sold, of course, through the Race in Dubai sale. But those who don't quite make it to the track further, they very much look after them at home, as Laura found out.
Godolphin Lifetime Care has a beautiful new home, but they're still doing the same fantastic work. Over the years, so many former track stars have been rehomed and gone on to great new careers, and there's around 10 of them here at the moment, including Comicas, who was such a star for Charlie Appleby at Meydan. Godolphin Lifetime Care is now based in Newmarket, with access to some stunning paddocks and riding facilities. When the horses arrive, they spend 6 months in the field under the care of Geraldine, who is in charge of helping them begin to wind down from the rigours of training. It's there that we find 2018 Group 2 Godolphin Mile winner Heavy Metal, who is making the most of his acres of grass, in company with his buddy King's Command, a Group 3 winner in France for Charlie Appleby. Retired in 2020, sprinter Comicas is ahead of Heavy Metal in the retraining process and is already showing promise under regular rider Tara Murphy. Silla explains more.
He is in his raw stages, so he's just starting a bit of ridden work. But he's doing really, really good. He's so genuine, kind, honest. I could see him going to do any kind of career, really, although obviously because he's just starting, we haven't done any pole work yet, but I cannot imagine that it would faze him. Generally, most of them will pop a pole. If they've had injuries where I wouldn't want them to go on and compete, even though they would be capable to jump a little bit, I would say they'd more be for hacking or dressage. But everything we've tried to jump seems to have taken to it fine. We've got 2 full-time staff that ride, and then Tara comes in and does quite a bit of the dressage work for us, and you know, often starts them off jumping.
So how far away is he, do you think, from getting a new home, from what you can see today?
From what I would say, 6 to 8 weeks, you'd be happy with him, because right from the start he's not put a foot wrong. And of course they're all individuals and they are all different. I just know that he's not not quirky, he's not got any badness in him at all, where he, you know, some of them that are a little bit sharp need a little bit longer.